Welcome, Bob,
Oh,
to the Musician Technician Entrepreneur Podcast. Glad to have you here today. And
Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
yeah,
hey, no problem. It feels good to talk to people.
yeah, definitely. Well, you were showing us some cool stuff there in the beginning. Let's see your setup.
All right. So I have this camera, which can actually kind of show the setup. So I have like a big 4K monitor. And then this is my video switcher. It's a A10 Mini by Blackmagic.
Okay.
So it could take 4 HDMI inputs. And then it has a bunch of like software stuff. So this computer is running the Zoom, and it also runs my switching stuff. And I use this program called Bohm MIDI Translator. So on the ground, I have a MIDI foot switch that I've mapped to Apple scripts, so I can, with my feet, change different camera angles.
Nice.
So like this is my main camera, which is a Canon EOS R. And then this is my down camera, which is a Canon EOS RP, and then this is a Sony ZV-1, and then I have a second computer, which is an HDMI source. This is one of my foot switches, and then all my audio is coming from this. If I want to do demonstrations for students, it's coming here, and it just makes it really easy to like throw on a song on Spotify or something. And then I have this little guy. I can't get it in frame. Oh yeah, I can. I can move it. Yeah, I could use this camera because we need this camera. So this is a Stream Deck by Elgato, something like that. And they're like a game streaming company. So I'm running a second overlay over this thing where it's custom macros. So I can put in picture. So, well, nobody wants that, but I can like have me talking and then maybe have my guitar here and have my guitar neck right in frame, or I can have like music on the screen and then have, my guitar neck there, or I can have me here, or I can have my hands here for piano, and then all of it's just with these little buttons. And then it also has like a green screen overlay, so I can put images in frame, and I have a monitor here that is the output of my switcher. Let me see if I can get that one in frame. So it's the output of my switcher. So I'm able to see it's like Weatherman. I'm able to see the graphics, and then I can point to them, and it makes like teaching easy, and then it makes like making videos really easy, because then there's like a lot less post-production involved. But it makes it really engaging for students if I can just like, and then they like, sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I'm looking at you, but I can just like, it's like a one-man weird show.
Is all that stuff that you're doing, does that happen before you even hit Zoom? I mean, all that stuff's happening, and then then it just goes into, yeah.
Yeah, and most of it's hardware. I don't rely on like software things. I know a lot of people do cool things with OBS.
Yep.
But no, it's all there's an output on the switcher, which the computer just reads as a webcam. So there's like two outputs as an HDMI output, and this weird, like, it has an encoder in it.
Yeah.
That'll just read it as like a regular webcam. So that's how it's just, nothing's in Zoom.
Yeah. And actually your video is really, really sharp too. Is there a certain camera that you're using?
Yeah, that's my Canon EOS R. It's this guy. It's that one.
Oh, okay.
So it's a mirrorless camera with a HDMI out that's going to the switcher, and then
Gotcha.
yeah, it's been an obsession. It's been horrible. And since the Simpson website started to make money, now it's just like, well, I've always kind of wanted a video slider. I should buy a video slider for the website. And it's like, if you have a gear obsession and then you have a website that, can justify buying gear, it's just like, oh boy.
Well, you're investing in yourself, so it's all
yes. Yeah.
It's all tax write-off, so
That's what I tell myself. Just write this off.
Is this all new stuff since March? All this new gear?
No. This has been like collecting since 2017. I've been like experimenting. I mean, when I started creating videos for my website, it was this. Where's that? I'm sure if you're like me, you might have a drawer like this, just cables. It was this webcam duct taped to a microphone. It was like a Logitech webcam duct taped to a microphone stand. And then I got a grant from LRNG. They came and they liked some of my videos, and I showed this setup. I was doing like this overhead shot where I was playing like these drum beats, and it was just a like really precarious duct tape webcam pointing down, and they gave me a grant for a few shekels, and that helped me like purchase some initial things. And I don't think I have any of that original. Maybe this lens that I'm using is part of the original thing, but I've kind of like swapped things out to, you know, like match color without having to go into post-production, and just making things as easy as possible to produce, but with a one-man show, because I don't want to go back and have to like edit things, and that's kind of pain.
Right. So have you mostly been online this school year?
Yeah. We started remote. We started remote in March, and then we've been online until 3 weeks ago, and then we went blended, which was fun. Now we're back to remote. But in blended, I didn't want to tear down this station because I like making my videos here. Having quality videos for students to watch and quality resources that are aligned to your curricula, if you're teaching remotely, blended, or in person, it just makes everything easier. So I'm able to create stuff really fast here. So I have a second setup at school for blended learning, and that has some interesting workflows that actually made it palatable. Like I heard a lot of teachers that were having a hard time with blended learning because of the communication issue. Like students on Zoom can't talk to the people in the room. People in the room can't talk to students on Zoom. Like students on Zoom, because if you're not hip to what hybrid is, it's like some kids are at home, some kids are in the room. So like I had a big screen TV turned around so all the Zoom kids can see the kids at home. And that screen was, you know, like I had a second version of that screen right in front of me on an iPad so I can see them, and it was above this camera with a crazy zoom, so I can like turn the camera around and get really tight in on a kid so that the kids at home could see it. And then what was coming out of my switcher was going through a big projector, and then I had mics in the room and a mixer, so I could have kids in the room talk to kids on Zoom. I just have to mute my PA, and then kids at home, they can talk to the PA. So it was almost like we were in one big room.
Nice.
And it was super fun, but I mean, you know, everyone's masked. We ended up like, I would have 6 kids that were supposed to be there, but 4 stayed home because they were scared. So I only had 2 kids show up, and most of the kids are on remote. So this setup's just a lot better for that. But yeah, it's been kind of back and forth.
Yeah. That's great. Well, when Jeff and I were talking about doing a podcast, we were like, well, it'd be nice to kind of address what's going on with COVID and trying to teach from home and everything. And like, you were the guy that instantly came to our mind. We're like, oh, Bob Habersat and Shed the Music. I bet he's like in his heyday right now. So,
Yeah, it's hard for me, and I have a soundproof video recording studio. So I can't imagine. I mean, I'm having fun. I enjoy it. But my heart is just like I spend most of my time making, like right now I'm making resources for other teachers to try to help them, because I've been teaching online, like college courses and stuff for a few years. I've been making all these video resources for like 5 years. So I know kind of how it works through trials and errors and testing things with students. And it seems like everyone is on their first YouTube video right now.
Yeah.
You know, like all the teachers are making their first content, and I've been making it for a long time. So in addition to making content for myself, I've been trying to help them. But yeah, I would definitely say like having the experience of making resources for students. I was talking to John Malinzek yesterday. He's the managing director at Noteflight, and we were talking about like, you know, how everyone has to know how to make videos right now. And it's just like the people who have a little bit of experience in it, who aren't like tech holdouts, are having a much better experience. But I'm enjoying. I could talk about it forever. I have so many things that I've learned, and I think the biggest thing is to be agile and flexible.
Yeah.
And then be transparent with students and like talk to them, be like, hey, I tried this new thing. Did that work, or did that like flop? And they're super transparent, and they're like, that wasn't good. We weren't engaged. That was not cool. It's like, all right, what could I do to make it better? And like having that transparency, but that only comes with comfort. And I feel like I'm pretty tech literate, and I feel like my multimedia skills are okay. So like I can be comfortable being vulnerable like that. But like there's a lot of teachers right now that don't have that level of comfort where, they can't have that kind of conversation. It's difficult for them.
Here's the first question on that. Like, so for example, if somebody, that came in and was not that, savvy with tech, and what would be your, like, do you just kind of teach them, like I always use the idea of, with my students, sometimes I'm giving them a fish, sometimes I'm teaching them to fish. Is that kind of what you're doing too? Are you just helping them and making stuff, or are you actually teaching them how to do things? And if you are, like, what do you usually recommend to the newbie?
Well, I mean, my main role is my public high school teacher, so my main role is my students. And I've been making some resources for other teachers, but over the summer I held 2 sessions of professional development on, teaching using my platform, but it was also teaching. I mean, I didn't know it was going to be about teaching remotely, but it ended up turning into that a little bit because, they signed up for the PD before March. And then they took the PD and they're like, oh, we're going to need to know how to teach remotely. So I was like, okay, I'll help you. But what I normally, start with is technology is a tool, right? Communication and teaching should be the same whether we're in the classroom or we're at our houses. It's just you need to think about the workflow and the pathways. It's like when you're trying to route audio for a recording or a show, you have to think about, like, all right, input here, it has to go through this converter, and then it's going to this piece of outboard gear, and then it has to go into this. You have to think about, the communication and the information flow from you to your students, from your students to each other, from them to other students, and then from them back to you. And then you have to think about anywhere that there's going to be a degradation in signal, and then be able to bolster that. Like, okay, students at home, they're going to be way more distracted. What can I do, or what can you do? Because what I do is going to be different because it's me. But like having teachers start to think about, like, where in the signal chain are there going to be, bugs, and then trying to come up with little solutions to that, and then figuring out what tech can work for those solutions. Not just like, you need to know all these DAWs and you need to know what a digital audio, you need to have an interface and stuff. It's like, think about what the problems are first and then find the tech to fix those problems. Because, tech is a tool. And I think a lot of people that might not be as tech savvy think about tech just as like this big obstacle, this big hurdle. But it's just a tool to get things done. It's like a pencil. I mean, you want to write something down, you grab a pencil. Pencil is a tool. This crazy room that I'm in is just a bunch of very specified pencils that I've whittled to solve problems that I've figured out from trying to think about the pathway from, like, I want my students to know this, I want them to be self-sufficient in this, and then with remote learning you have to think about, okay, the pathway does not include playing music together in a room. Like, don't try to recreate a bad facsimile of, like, yes, latency, there's no possible way to have 2 people that are far away be in sync together. It's just not physically possible.
Yeah.
So don't try to, try to work within the new paradigm, not try to work on changing the paradigm, because that's impossible. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest hurdle when I'm talking to teachers is, like, make things more individual and project based, have them collaborate, but have them collaborate asynchronously, not synchronously while playing music together. There are ways around it. And I've changed my entire curriculum. I spent all summer changing my guitar curriculum so that it's like project based. They're learning how to arrange tunes and write tunes and then record them, instead of let's play together in an ensemble, because that's what my curriculum was. It's classical guitar ensemble. That wouldn't work. But it took me thinking, like, having to project, all right, this is what I want. Where's the bug? The bug is we can't play together. So can't do that idea. And you have to be agile and flexible again. And that's kind of what I was working with teachers. And then I'm trying to just develop more strategies and sharing out more strategies, things that I've learned. So the first thing that I would have a teacher do is just to like literally plot it out. Like you're doing a diagram, because I think it's really easy to see like a block diagram. I want students to, that's what I had to do when I was teaching hybrid. It's just like, all right, I want kids at home to be able to talk to kids in school, kids at school to talk to kids at home. And you have to figure all that out. And then if you need to, find somebody that might have a little more experience with technology, show them your problems. And then someone who understands what the possible solutions are can point you in the right direction, especially with maybe the tools that you have available to you at your school, because those are going to be different.
I'd love to see some of your Shed the Music stuff, just for those people that might be interested in teaching specifically music tech.
Yeah, here's the page, and what's like, I started this a few years ago as just like a way to answer questions that came to me all the time. The biggest question that came to me all the time was like, I would be teaching piano class and then kids would be like, how do you read the notes in bass clef again? So I'd have to go back and talk about, how to read bass clef, but then I made a video on it and now it's there. So the majority of the website isn't music tech based. It's mostly just resources. This is like the textbook I use for all of my music classes, and it's broken down into these different categories. And like I've re-recorded this video so many times. This one I re-recorded last week. But this actually shows how the green screen works. This second space right here, that is an A.
Oh, nice.
So I'm able to see myself and I can interact with these graphics, which is pretty cool. It just makes it a lot easier. There's less post-production involved. So that's the website. And there's just a lot of stuff on there from, if you want to get into jazz transcription. I mean, it's pretty niche, but we have an interesting, it's my teaching partner, the band director of my school, Paul Levy. He's the other half of the Shed. He's a fantastic jazz saxophone player, and we started, collaborating on these jazz things, and that became like this huge portion, which we would go to like Gen conferences and talk about our transcription method, and we've taught classes on it at Vanderbilt College of Music. But for music tech, this is like the page that I started using with my students, and it's just, there's a lot of resources on there, whether it's, having a library of a bunch of different grooves that you could play, whether it's on, pads or a keyboard, and then all these have videos where I show exactly how to do different things. But what I did in the last couple of years is I put it all together and I sequenced it in a full curriculum. And now you can access it. If you go to curricula, you can, I don't know what it's going to do because I am signed in. Okay. So like here is my music technology curriculum, and it's separated into 6 units. I've added a bunch of extra units to help out people, especially now because people are teaching music tech to band students. So there's different needs. So I added in like an oral training unit, pop transcription unit, a major scale master unit, and this like mini course, which is pretty much my curriculum, but boiled down into 6 lessons. Like I have a teacher who is in Alaska. The whole top of Alaska that uses this curriculum is one school district. It's called the Upper Slope. There's different sites that he services, and some of them there's no roads. You have to take a plane to get to them. So he has to like airdrop USB drives with videos of things. So he's using my mini courses because it's less storage on the drive. So he has like, I gave him like downloads to that. But so in any of these units for each project, and I did this before COVID, thank goodness.
Yeah.
There's a walkthrough video for each project with chapters, so you can, if you forgot about how to trim, you can just click on trimming, or you can go to the table of contents here, and then each walkthrough video has a quiz about like the procedures. If you ever taught music, if you ever taught anything, like the procedural elements are the things that go away first if you're trying to like give step-by-step instructions. They're like, wait, what do I do after I record the thing? So these this quiz here helps with that. And then there's like sections where you learn how to do it, and like it kind of walks you through, and there's different, videos, and this is the keyboard mapping for drums, for MIDI drums on like a MIDI keyboard, and just have it all there. So that's the curriculum, the music tech curriculum. And I have a guitar one that is a month away from being completed, and that's the curriculum that I'm using right now, where it's teaching students like how to, while learning how to read rhythms, while learning how to play chords and stuff, it's also learning how to like read and write lead sheets, learn how to hear chord changes by ear, learn how to do learn how to write a bass line, do basic arranging skills. So at the end of the curriculum, not only can you play guitar, but you can also write basic like 4-part guitar ensemble literature, that's the other kind of hat that I wear at my school. Is I direct the guitar ensembles, and I teach all the guitar classes. So that's kind of like how things are formatted. There's also a teacher resources page that gives like lesson plans, video lesson plans, and then a collaboration hub where like for each lesson I have, since there's a lot of teachers using it right now, and there's a lot of different use cases and stuff, they're able to write in comments about what works for them. Like, oh, there is this really cool song by Carly Rae Jepsen that demonstrated the link between the rhythm of bass and the rhythm of the kick, and they're all able to list those things out, and kind of this makes it a living document, which I found has been really helpful, because a lot of people have really good ideas, and it's really cool to see how people are coming up with different ideas to solve their own problems. So here's the different projects, but in each project there's let's go to Groove Library. In each project there's a video lesson plan, and then a lesson plan with all the links, and then ideas for remediation and enrichment. And here's like that collaboration. Nobody has collaborated on this one, but that's where that is. So I have that for all the different projects with rubrics and all the different music educator things.
I don't think people might realize how much time you've spent on this. It's got to be hundreds of hours between all the videos and the resources and the little worksheets, and it's so well planned.
Thanks.
Kudos to you. Yeah. And I thought this way before COVID. I mean, I knew you way before COVID hit. So I've been impressed by the shed for a long time.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a new teacher, just especially coming in, and especially at this particular time in history, and was like, oh crap, I got to teach music online, I would just buy the shed program and just go for it, because you got it laid out like just perfectly, and you can teach, and it's all online. It teaches online fine, or in person.
How have sales been since more people have to be online with the shed? Is it?
Yeah, no, it's been great.
Yeah,
and the sales are cool. It's cool to. I mean, it's great to have sales, and it's great to see the company grow, and it's great to be able to have, some more capital to invest in better versions of the platform, and to upgrade, like that Vimeo thing where I have chapters. I was able to upgrade so I can have the chapters in the timeline of that, and then not having a little more clout, so that I can reach out to bigger companies for sponsorships. So like for that guy in Alaska, I'm donating a IK Multimedia mic so that some of his kids can record their elders like doing their music in their native language. It's like, how cool is that? But I couldn't do that unless like had some of that extra bread. But no, it's been great. And the coolest thing is, besides the money, is like being able to talk to all these different people and like have phone conversations. Like they'll call to talk about how to set up student accounts, and be like, do you have like 5 minutes so we could talk about what's going on in, like, okay, you're a teacher in Florida. It's June right now. So what's the weather like? And then talk about their teaching situation, and then learn more about them as people, and them as users, like what kind of features would have helped them or would help them, and then trying to implement those. Like I was talking to this one guy in Ohio, and he was full-time band 7th and 8th grade, and then the district said, you are now teaching every student a 6-week rotation of general music. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I gave him that mini course, and it fixed it. But it's like, I couldn't imagine being in that situation. And it just makes me, well, first of all, it makes me very grateful for my school, my district, my family and everything, having this room and then having the prep from this website. And it just, it just kind of connects in such a world where we feel so disconnected and connected at the same time. It gives it more of a human element to know that like there are people out there that are having the same struggles that we're having or harder. Yeah. And then if we can all help each other out. And I think everyone in the music ed tech community, Music First, Soundtrap, Note Flight, everybody, Ableton, they've all been helping each other out because they all know. And I think that now that I'm able to just kind of dip my pinky toe, the smallest of my pinky toes, the two, I probably have one that's smaller, dip the smallest of the pinky toes in the water of music tech company. It's so cool to see that there aren't a lot of ferocious monsters out there that are being like, they're being like mean and like trying to capitalize in this time, which is really cool to see. But no, sales have been good.
Good. I think especially in the music tech world, there's a real supportive team of people. I mean, when Jeff and I went out to the Ableton Loop conference, man, it just felt like a big family kind of thing. No, the competition seems minimal, and it just seems like everybody wants to help each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what you're doing is a great service.
Thanks. I did my first big Ableton thing. I did a collaboration with this guy. It was the first episode of the podcast. At the end of the podcast, he was the DJ for Madonna. He runs this like private music school in Virginia, and we did a collaboration. He's an Ableton genius, and I've used Ableton like 5 times. It's cool. It's a cool program. Now that I like digged into it a little bit, it's like I gotta get over like I gotta buy some sounds. That's what I need to do. I gotta buy some sounds. I gotta get some sounds.
I would like to touch on Soundtrap real quick because I know that you use Soundtrap a lot, and I'm pretty sure that you're the one that introduced me to that a few years ago. I like what they're doing because it's all online. The DAW is online, which really allows you to do a lot with the kids instead of them having to have the software at home. Like for instance, last year when our DARA program went online, last March, our scramble was to get everybody Pro Tools and Ableton on their computers at home, which both were generous enough to provide those for free for, I think Ableton was 6 months and Pro Tools was the same or something. Mm-hmm. But the problem was not everybody had a robust computer at home. So, a quarter of our students could barely do the work we wanted them to do. It's just a super cool platform. So.
It is. So there's a couple out there. There's, Soundtrap, Bandlab. I like Bandlab. I haven't done that much in Bandlab. I like the sounds better in Note Flight, and as like a musician and like composer, if I can't get something to sound good right away, it's like, whatever. I'll find something else. But Soundtrap's amazing. The bummer is we have iPads at our school, and the iPad app for Soundtrap isn't that great.
Oh, really?
So you can't get into the piano roll. So you can't like edit things after you've performed it. And you can't get into the piano roll for Bandlab either on iOS. You can get it. You can tell it to quantize before you play it, and that's it. It's like, wait, what? This is crazy. Yeah. But no, like for the schools that I've been working with, the majority, and I've talked to, tech companies. I've had conversations with Soundtrap, like execs at, cause they're based out of Sweden. They're owned by Spotify, but like the original company's out of Sweden. And I guess Spotify is great by like, if they acquire a company, they still allow total autonomy. So Soundtrap is running pretty much how Soundtrap ran before they were acquired by before they were acquired by Spotify in like 2018. But I guess like not a lot of people are developing for iOS because most schools are using Chromebooks. But a lot of schools are using Chromebooks, and what a lot of schools have is, Chromebooks with typing keyboards.
Right.
And you can do in Soundtrap, you can play all their instruments with the typing keyboard. So you could have a whole group of students in the room, like if you're in face-to-face, total face-to-face, and you can be socially distant, they could be playing music in real time together on a Chromebook. Like you can have them all playing drum beats together, enjoying playing music together. And then if you go hybrid or remote, and they still have that device, they still have the exact same DAW.
Right.
And the best thing for me is, like, I mean, GarageBand is the best DAW for iOS, for the iPad.
Yeah.
But managing projects, like having students send you projects and like collaborating on projects, is a nightmare. But with Soundtrap, you like set an assignment, you give them the link. Every time they open the link, it populates their assignment in a folder that it's named it for you already. It's just like total game changer. I wish we didn't have iPads, but you know.
Are you do you feel like you could show us a little Soundtrap there?
For sure. Yeah. So like, here's Soundtrap. Here's their like studio window. It's a fully fledged ish DAW, like the synthesis engine. You can tweak some things. I'll just play in. I'll create like a groove. So I turn my keyboard on, and this is my, like, I have a push. I use a push sometimes for just like starting to like run things and doing loop things, but every time I go to play it, it's on a piano. And then, I mean, you could just use a typing keyboard. So I'll just create a groove, just and they keep the other cool thing is anytime they add a patch, you get it for free.
Nice.
So it's like I like to play the game of like, can I write a song with just all the new stuff? So let's do that. No, I've never used Lois. I have no idea what Lois sounds like. All right, that's what Lois sounds like. And then I'm gonna go through. I'll cycle through. Yeah. Is there anything below the octave? No. I have a double bass. All right, so I'll use that. Leave some space. Okay, and now I'll just record that. Let me put this over here. And undo this loop thing. Boom. Little tap tempo action. And then I was using that, right? 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I will go in and quantize that to the 16th note. Give it a listen back. So I have my little 2-bar loop. I know if you're an Ableton person, you're thinking this would be so much easier and it would be so much more enjoyable to listen to if you were using the whatever it's called, the where everything's in like a column, and what's that called?
Session view.
Session view. Session view.
That's all good. This is cool, man.
It's all good. Okay. So let's boom. All right. I like to think about, as a composer, I like to think about the sound first. Is there anything new? Ooh, new. Airy, clean. Doesn't have enough sustain. No sustain. All right, so I have that. I want to do a 4-bar phrase, so I'll make it a 4-bar phrase. All right, and then the quantizing, like, I realize I played triplets here, so I have to like, I mean, you learn your DAW. You know, you get good at whatever your DAW is. So, there we go. All right, so I'll play the third of the chord on something that like pulses. So I'll find like a synth that has like a pulsy pulse. This one's new. No pulse. Darn. That one sounds horrible. Okay, I'll do that. It's not what I originally intended, but sometimes the sound. Okay. play the third and the fifth of the chord. Now I'm getting excited. So I'm like, there we go. Sorry, I'm drinking tea. Normally I'm drinking coffee. Right, and I'll just throw in, I'll just throw in like one more thing. But yeah, like, I'll do something where you can see like the synthesis engine. So I'll pick a synth. Any synth that has like this tweak button, then you can get into the actual synthesis engine.
Nice.
This is it's pretty bare bones, but as a high school student, like,
It's got it all.
you know how to, if you know what an LFO is, you're cool in my book, as a high school student. So like there's a synthesis engine. You can't map anything. Like you can't map anything to MIDI. I don't know if anything like auto maps. Nah. I mean, that would be a cool feature, but I mean, it's not a performance tool. I use it more of as like compositional production tool. All right. So I'll just record. I'll get like a mic thing here with reverb apparently. And then I'll just go dry. Okay. And I don't know how, but the latency on the monitoring is so minimal. I don't know how they do it. For like, if you heard how my voice was like a little doubled, but it was like it's
not much. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how it runs, but it's cool. Let's think of words. Oh, I'm here with John and Albie. All right, Jeff. I'm here with Jeff and Albie. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm here with Jeff and Albie. We're talking on the podcast. Talking to you. I'm here with Jeff and Albie. Yeah. Normally I drink coffee, not tea. And then with the curriculum that I do, I like go over all of this stuff, like how do you write the drum groove, what's the bass line, where's all the music theory in it, and then they have some effects. Like normally the whatever audio you record is I'm here with Jeff and Albie. You can add effects, and they have effects here. I like to add a little bit of compressor. They have this one compressor. It's called Compressor 1. It's really easy if you don't know how to use a compressor. And then if you want your voice to be brighter, I got you. It's called Brighter. We're talking on the podcast. Talking to you. I'm here with Jeff and Albie. I know it's pretty. I grew up using like Cakewalk. Yeah. And I don't know what it was before Cakewalk. I don't know. That's what I grew up using tape. My dad gave me a Tascam 4-track when I was in like 5th grade and a couple SM57s. So that's what I grew up with. And then like I kind of just think it's tape. And this is a really good it's tape DAW. And then it has some good synthesis and the sounds are decent. And then every time you export it, it normalizes the volumes, which is really cool.
Yeah. The one thing I want to point out that I just don't want it to pass by the audience here is that what the stuff you just recorded was on the internet. It wasn't recording onto your DAW like that. Like Soundtrap it's not an application on your DAW. Like it's not like Ableton or Pro Tools or something where it's like you're actually doing it virtually, right? It's like, is it sitting on a server somewhere or in Sweden or
something? Probably closer in Sweden. But yeah, no, it's just a tab in my massive tabs on Chrome. That's what it is. It's just like it's right there. It's just a tab. I mean, it's a hog. Like if I look at CPU and memory usage, like every time I use it, and if you're not using a fast enough computer, if you have enough tracks, especially if you're recording audio, things that are strange will start to happen. But
sure,
I mean, if you're just doing MIDI, I don't know how they do it.
I mean, and also, you sang into that and it played back. There's no latency. I mean, it's a pretty amazing platform.
I've heard on some Windows devices, because I I use Mac because of core audio. Like I don't have to worry about setting latency. It's just perfect every time.
Yeah.
I've never had any latency issues with recording audio into Soundtrap, but I have heard of some weird stories with like Windows users. I did a collaboration with this guy, Christopher Bill. We were doing it on Soundtrap. He's never used it before. And he has like a fast Windows computer, and he played trombone on it. And like, he was like almost a second and a half off.
Oh, wow.
It's like, whoa, whoa.
That won't work.
Yeah, no, that won't work. But I mean, if you have a decent Chromebook, or if you have a Mac, it seems to be just like perfect every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's just totally web-based.
Yeah. Can you like download those files now? Like, is there like an option to say like let's say you wanted to import those into Pro Tools now or something? Is there like a
Yeah, I mean, you can export as a WAV. You can export the MIDI tracks. You can export straight to Noteflight, and it will create the notation for you.
Right.
But I mean, if you just wanted the audio, you'd have to do it like that way. You can't like bounce all the tracks separately. You'd have to like
one at a time.
Yeah, and then you can't automate tempo changes. You can automate volume changes and stuff, but I'll do for the one of the fun parts of the guitar curriculum. Every exercise has like a Noteflight score that I've put backing tracks into.
Oh, nice.
So there it is. So like, these are just basic 3-strings chords. Each one of these is at a different tempo. I wrote most of them in Soundtrap, and I just think it's fun. I mean, if you can write little 4-bar tunes,
yep,
and then have kids play. But anyway, so I would write them all, and then I'd have to export and then bring it into Logic to do all the tempo mappings, because it doesn't allow tempo mappings. But I mean, like, unless you're doing something crazy like that, and you can still work around it.
Yeah. Where do you get storage in the cloud then with Soundtrap? Is that the way they do it? Like, as far as, do you get so much storage for, like, let's say you had 100 songs you're working on and it started to, does it ever fill up, or is that not
I think it's a freemium service. So yes, I'll save changes. It's asking me if I want to save change to my Jeff and Albee song. I mean, I have, this is horrible. I'm so unorganized. I have 609 projects going.
Oh, geez.
If you have the free version, I think you're limited to a certain amount of projects and a certain amount of tracks in each project. But if you pay for, I think they have multiple levels. But I'm on the EDU version, and the EDU, you pay for a certain amount of seats for your students, but then you get everything. You don't ever have to worry about only having 10 projects or whatever. I think that's what it is. I know that's what it is for Noteflight, but
for the free one.
But even the free one, I mean, you're making music online on a computer, and you don't have to have any software installed, which is insane.
That is insane. Yeah, it seems to me like maybe they're laying out the future of DAWs in some kind of, I mean, as that DAW expands out and gets more robust, it could start to be a contender with some other DAWs where.
Yeah, and Bandlab, like, I'd check out Bandlab too. Bandlab's free, and even the EDU, there's like no paid version for Bandlab. It's not as secure as Soundtrap. Like, students, if you have students, they should be in a walled garden where nobody could access their private information. That's how Soundtrap is. Soundtrap EDU, but Bandlab, it's free for EDU users, but I think it's great that more of them are popping up, because they're all kind of in competition, pushing each other up. Mm-hmm. And because one of the cool things with Soundtrap is right now I could like send you this link, and you could be on the track too. Like, you could track guitar at your house and then press save, and I'll see it.
Oh, right.
And we can work in real time. And it even has like a little video conferencing thing where you can see each other like talking.
Oh, how cool. So you can collaborate cool. right together right there.
Yeah, which has been great for educators right now. Like, you get a small chamber group of flutes or something, and then you're tracking the first part, you're tracking the second part, and these are skills that are important as a 21st century musician. Like, you need to know what punching in is.
Yeah.
Like, you need to know, like, and you don't normally talk about that in band, like in marching band. You don't talk about punching in your part on the when you're playing flute in marching band, but flute in marching band pretty much only happens in high school and college. But the majority of professional flute players have to know how to record. So we're getting that thing now. But I mean, like, that's helping a lot because, band directors are able to go in and say, like, all right, you're going to do they assign different tracks, and then they can talk in the chat, and you can export the chat so you can see how students are collaborating, or you can do the same thing with choirs and stuff. But with Splice on Ableton, now you can do a similar collaboration thing. Like, that's how I did my collaboration with Eric Howe. Is you could, on Ableton, press save. It has to be on a targeted folder, and then it's actually saving to the cloud on Splice. And then somewhere else they can open it right away and then start collaborating, which is pretty cool. It's not as fast. And there's definitely some like workarounds and things you have to do, like if you don't have the patches that person has or something. But in Soundtrap, it's just instant.
Right. Nice. It's interesting. 21st century musician is something that Jeff and I use all the time. There's a new sort of regime of way of thinking of what a musician is now compared to 100 years ago, definitely, maybe even 20 years ago. One of those things is like the idea of interpretive performance, where it seems like all these years schools have just been teaching people how to read notes on a page, and basically that was kind of it. But I feel like music tech is bringing in a new way of teaching where it's much more creative. And I feel like your whole idea with your program at the Shed, when you say, what do you say? Performance through
production through performance.
Yeah. I think you're like right along the same lines of the way Jeff and I teach at the college, where we're really project based and creating stuff, not so much reading notes and notation or trying to do somebody else's music, but like, how do you create your own music? And what made you think that way?
Because that's how I am. Like, I'm not the best reader. It all comes down to I'm not the best reader. Like, I play guitar. I didn't start reading guitar notes until I got into college, and I got my butt kicked. I went to Elmhurst College, and like, whoa, like, notes. You don't want to see my tapping licks? Do you know how cool I am with my tapping things? They're like, nah, like, look at this chord. And they're like, oh gosh. So like, and then when I got into bands, and then I got into improvisation, and I became a decent jazz guitar player. And then when I started to get into the real world, it's like, you need to know how to read. You know how to read your butt off, but you need to know what's going on behind the page, not just on the page. Like, if the singer calls for a tune in a different key, you can't just be able to read the page. You have to know, like, all right, that's the third of the chord. You're in A, that's C sharp. Now you're going to D flat. Now it's an F. You have to know that. So after a few of those gigs, and after going into some jam sessions, I realized, like, I need to be more, pliable in that way. And then, it's like, I think it's the traditional school, like how you were describing it. It's like you're teaching kids how to be line cooks. You're teaching them how to make the burger and fries. You're not teaching them how to experiment and create and to be an actual chef. You're giving them skills, which are very important. Like, you need to know the fingerings to play all these notes on trumpet. That's not trumpet. This is clarinet. This is trumpet. But it shows how good I did at my woodwind tech class. So, like, but they don't know what's going on behind the music, or they don't have ears, or like, transcribing is such an important thing. So I think it just came from like how I grew up with music all around. Like, I had music in my house. My everyone sang. They all played instruments. Reading wasn't a big thing. Got my butt kicked. Had to learn how to read. Had to learn how to see into the page to be happy with myself as a musician. Since I wasn't native to reading, like, I couldn't just like read my butt off enough on classical guitar and just make all the classical guitar gigs. I'd have to study it. But when I was studying it, I wasn't just getting really good at reading the notes. I was like, all right, that's an A dominant seventh chord, and that's just doing a Neapolitan sixth. That's how I think. So like, that's how I want my students to have that experience. And then I think, like, if you can, like, there was one performance I had of my music theory class. We started to perform a music theory class pre-COVID. And we would just like call out numbers to tunes, and then we'd like round robin, like, okay, one kid's playing the drums, one kid's playing bass, one kid's playing keys, one kid's singing, and one kid's singing background vocals. We'd call out a tune, and then we call out the numbers for the tune and the key. Like, all right, this is an A flat. It's a 4-1-5-6. In the bridge, it goes to the 2 chord and it goes to the 4 chord. Yeah. So we'd play songs like that. We practiced it a lot in class, but there was one time we were at a performance, a really low stakes performance, but still a performance. One of the singers heard a kid saying that they wanted to hear a tune. The singer knew the tune. The bass player knew the numbers. He told the numbers to the rest of the kids. They played the song. Nice. And it was like, I was just like bawling. I was crying behind the curtain. I was like, this is what it's about. It had nothing to do with reading the music. Yeah. Because I mean, like, we talk about, it's playing music. It's not working music, right? Like, they were playing, they were enjoying, they were in the flow state. They were having so much fun at the super high level, not like butt cheeks clenched, like trying to read the trill pattern on measure 33. It's like, that's important. But man, this is where it's at. Like, if you want to be a modern musician, you just need to know how to play the whole field. You need to be the whole musician. And I think we've been only teaching this little sliver, but just opening it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to take that idea just even a little deeper and apply that also to just and Jeff, I'd like you maybe to chime in here too, because I know both of you guys have different ways of teaching theory, music theory, and your approach to that is different than, going to theory 1 and theory 2 and learning how to write parts and all that. So maybe you guys could kind of address your approach to music theory.
Mainly, DARA 1, the first things that I have this key chart that I've developed, and I've been using it for years, to teach the idea of what a key is. And I give the history of it, and so we kind of go from there, and then it's in 2 octaves too. And so then I work with the understanding of minor key in relationship, to that, and also, the chords of the key. It's a real simple method, 3-finger fan method. You can see all the chords really easy. And so again, it's completely oriented in just being able to understand, like you were saying, the progressions of chords and seeing them in the numbers, but at the same time being able to spell them really simply. But then when I have this class, it's kind of more of a Berklee School of Music style of approach. It's one of the ones that we developed for when we started the major. It's called Music Architectures and Structures, and it's really focused on hearing, like you were saying, being able to hear progressions, and I use that same key chart as kind of a touchstone so that people can, like figure out, okay, I have a lot of crazy, silly stories and metaphors and things when I teach. And so then I go into more the number method and understanding, the difference between interval method and number method, the 2 different, how that progressed from the interval method in early days to more in the 20th century in the number method, and thinking extended harmony and understanding chords that way, and understanding, like, from the big band era, how, extended harmonies came into being. The thing is, what I really focused then on is, I have students always send me maybe at the beginning of the semester 5 or 6 songs that they really like, on YouTube, links to them. And then basically in this, I kind of formulate, I know what I want to teach. I just see what stuff that they've given me, and so if they have a situation where it's mostly in a key, but then they use maybe some 2-5-1 progressions in there to like sneak out for a little bit, I find a song and I go, okay, and I play it for them, and I just say, okay, tell me about the song. What key is it mostly in? And then they guess, and I go, is there anything that's not in the key? And then they go, yeah, this little spot here, seems like it's what? So what is that? And, oh yeah, that's what that 2-5-1 thing is. So just focused on a lot of, like you were saying, low status quizzes, where I just play it, they listen and they guess. I have this one little metaphor of comparing major and minor to kind of our gender. There's the 2 genders of sound, and And so they get used to thinking either something's a major sound or a minor sound, and then I use the the modes for the different variations of being able to determine. Oh yeah, that's a Phrygian sound. Oh yeah, that thing is. Well, that's major, but it's Mixolydian. So they're starting to hear things, and so the whole point of that is so that when they come into my classes for like in my second year where I'm doing a lot of content creation, they have more tools, like you said, instead of just only tech tools, they have music theory tools to be able to, to try to make some, authentic music that they really like, and that they can understand the music that they're interested in, but at the same time, create new music, with some of those new ideas. And I'm constantly building that out with students, privately and as I work on their projects. I'm always asking them, what is it that you did there? Or what could you have done there, or something to that effect in theory wise. So it's all, I have a very cool gig, because I get to work with students making music all the time, or transcribing music or editing music. And so, and the theory's always interspersed in it. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, I think what you said, like having just like the being able to the simply, the just spelling of chords. There seems to be, like, especially in high school, like kids think they know their B flat major scale because they played every day in band. But like, what's the 2 chord? Like what's the third of the 5 of 4? The big one right now is the 2-5 of 4. That's in so many hits right now. People do a 2-5 to the 4 chord. Just so interesting. Sorry, I think I stepped on you. What were you saying?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was going to ask Jeff if he allowed parallel fifths, but that was just.
Well, you should have heard. Anna killed today on a song that she wrote. I was, yeah, let's do another take. Yeah, she was just like, because we were malting it, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I don't even think she tuned her first 3 strings. So, but it was
power chords, baby.
I said, this is a hit, baby. You got a nice piece here. Wait till you hear it tomorrow. Holy cow. Cool. She got a big sound. Yeah. She used my Trace Elliott amp. Plus she used the plug-in for Mega Dual. It's, it's one of those plug-in Alliance plugins, like a Mesa Boogie kind of plug-in. Oh man. She goes, man, I sound so good. I said, turn. So I said, yeah, you got it, baby. That was really fun.
Which Trace Elliott?
I have the Speed Twin.
I used to have a Speed Twin. Nice. Until it like hurt my back. I was bringing it to a gig and I was like, I
leave it at school.
Yeah, smart.
It's the amp of choice for doing metal stuff there. So.
No, it's awesome. It's an awesome amp. Yeah, no, I think theory-wise, like, start where they're at. Start with pop stuff, right? Because it's the 5 chord has been it's like the Mozart was dealing with the same 3 notes on the 5 chord. Maybe he was adding the 7 as like Drake is, so like why not start with the simple stuff? And it just so happens that with the pop music we're listening to today, it is the simple stuff. Like it's 1 4 5 6. Sometimes there's a 2, sometimes there's a 3, maybe there's a 5 of something. But like if you start with music today, then they get appreciation for it, and then it kind of opens up their eyes to stuff from the past. Yeah. We'll be studying the 2-5 of 4 and like those modern songs, and then I'll throw on Mr. Blue Skies by ELO, and they're like, it has that, and then it goes to that chord, and then I'll play like a Bird Blues, which I'll play like Blues for Alice, where it's like a 2-5 6, then a 2-5 of 4, and then the 4 becomes minor, and then it's 2 5s going down in half steps, and they're like, this is amazing, and then they get it, and then they want to do jazz. But like the traditional music theory approach is like, we'll do the stuff that isn't connected, that's a little more complicated first. It just makes no sense. So I mean, like what you're doing there, Jeff, is like exactly what we're doing. I mean, my music theory class right now, Honors Music Theory 1, it's like you're doing things in all 12 keys. You have to know your major scales. Like I have some tests that are brutal. It's 10 questions. I have this pair of dice here. It's musician's dice. So it's a 12-sided die, and each side is a key. And like it'll be like, all right, we're working on how many sharps or flats are in the scale, and then it's 10 questions. Roll the dice. B flat. You have 10 seconds to answer the question. Normally it's in my office. I have one light on and a metronome going, and they come into my office, and then it's like an interrogation, and then but that's part of performing too, is you have to be able to work under pressure. So I have those, but like right now each person's picking a tune, and they have to play bass line in the left hand, chords in the right hand inverted correctly. They have to either say or sing the words. They have to play it in the original key. They have to present on they have to do a Roman numeral analysis, present the Roman numeral analysis, and then perform it in a different key by only looking at the numbers. So that's kind of like where I get to in my theory class, and I think that's really similar to what you're doing. It's just like doing pop music, but learning it from that classical view. There's so much in there, and it gets students right away because they're playing the music that they want to play.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, Albie and I both, when we started doing this program, we were doing our graduate work at IUPUI. We came across a document that pretty much helped us write all the curriculum. It was called The Transforming Undergraduate Music Major, and it was all about the idea of the difference between the interpretive performer as opposed to composing and understanding the structures like that. And that's kind of how we always thought anyway, but it gave us like new educational nomenclature so that we could put it, into our coursework. But yeah, we've constantly looked into that idea of, composition and understanding. The other thing that they said was always use current music, always use contemporary music, and then start there and then work your way back. And if you want to,
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. What does it mean to be an educated musician in the 21st century? It's like, there we go.
Yeah.
But have you not seen that before?
No.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Document. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the seedling of DARA. We really wanted to try to stick to that sort of teaching, which is very project based.
Oh, and these people are all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That's
a
cool.
pretty big deal study. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely where it's at. And I think more and more people, especially now, I mean, you can look at this as this working remotely, working blend. You can look at it as like the worst, but you can also look at it as an opportunity. You can look at it as an opportunity from like a music tech standpoint, like we have these music tech tools that work. Imagine if we did this in the 80s. Like there was no Soundtrap in the 80s. We couldn't be collaborating on music together. Like it would suck. Mm-hmm. But we have all these tools that work, and now all these people can use these tools, and like we're going to be better teachers when we come out of this. And I think musicians too, like music ed pedagogy is going to shift because, like kids' engagement is way more in tune with what they're digging. Yes, the fifth march you do in your concert literature is very important, but if you're doing like, if you're digging what the kids are, if you're doing what the kids want to do, then like they're going to like it more. So I think, after this is over, I think these ideas that were kind of formulated beforehand, that maybe people that had more flexibility and thought, that we're able to like kind of see outside the box, I think like it's going to be more mainstream now, which is pretty cool. And it's cool to be part of it and to like plant some seeds somewhere and then like see how it's going to grow and all of that. And you guys are a part of that too with your program. It's just really interesting to see how it's going to flesh out.
Yeah. Yeah, we were really disappointed. This obviously is like everybody was we had a great tour lined up with, the DARA OS, and we were, obviously offered the first music tech conference, from Miami, for last year. We were super excited. We had a guy from LA that was going to come in and, speak at that too. And yeah, we're looking forward to, keeping the level up on that.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. When I was looking for, so, you search through your email. I don't delete emails, so I'm able to search through my email to find when like the link for something or like just the description of the podcast, and it was a February update about the ILMEA music tech event at DARA. I was like, oh man, that was going to happen. That was going to be so cool. But I think it's going to happen, and I think way more people are going to be interested because way more people are doing music tech stuff right now.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
Well, beautiful. You actually answered my last question, which is, where did you think music tech was headed? And jumped right in there.
Well, a lot more people are using the tools right now. And with more people using the tools, like the infrastructure is getting better. There's a lot more people are pushing out updates, and the cloud-based platforms are getting really good. And then since more people are putting money into it, there's way more competition. Like I'm going to redo all of my videos over winter break because I want them to be the best. Like I don't want somebody else to make a really good music tech curriculum. I want mine to be, the one. So I got to like get on it. And that's what every company is doing right now. So I think two things are going to happen. Like the product that everyone is going to release is going to be better. And then eyes, ears, and brains are going to be a little more open to different ways of thinking because it's been like 8 months and we've all had to think outside the box. And after a while, thinking outside the box becomes a habit. And then you're able to look at things differently. And then I think that's going to be a whole new world. Sorry. I got little kids and we were watching Aladdin.
Yeah. So Bob, where can people get a hold of you? I want people to be able to access you so they can get your program and
Yeah. Well, if you go to shedthemusic.com, you can email me my new email address. It's bob@shedthemusic.com. That's good. It's different. It's new. But I mean, if you're here, if you want to check out, I'm gonna put the new podcast is gonna go here like this weekend. But if you want to check out the curricula, the music tech curriculum right now, you can go to music production. Any one of these, you can access a sample. And the sample has one full unit. And you can see what the things are there. I'm doing a beta test right now for the guitar curriculum. So if you're a teacher, you can get the guitar curriculum for free. Just check it out. If you want to use it with your students, I'm offering it at like 10% of what I normally, because it's not finished yet. I'm getting feedback from teachers so that it could be better for me and so it could be better for them. So you can check out those things here. And then if you want to email me, the email's there. Facebook. I can't social media. It makes me too anxious. So just email me.
Yeah.
And I release things on YouTube far too often. So you can check out all the new things there.
Fantastic. Thanks for spending time with us tonight, Bob.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.